Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Ann Dieter Gallagher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go! It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, Annie Carnathan.
Well, we are three looking beautiful.
We are. Yes. Whoever is watching Grit and Gravitas on YouTube, they get a little treat because we're kind of working our Easter colors here.
Very, very coordinated.
Yes, very
the
coordinated.
Weather not so much, but we are.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania, it is brisk. So I'm kind of ready for the tulips that we brought a little pop of color here today. And I'm super excited. This is the second time today I get to spend time with Dr. Linda Fedrizzi-Williams, who is president of our very close Central Penn College.
Yes.
Linda, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited, and I've heard great things. And I told someone today that I was going to be on this podcast, and she said, "That's my favorite podcast. I wait for a new episode to drop all the time." And then she goes, "That's a very big deal." I said, "Okay, now I have to really go in there ready to go."
God bless whoever that was.
Well, you brought the style bling, so I know
you look
Thank
great.
you, ladies.
Yeah, your nails and her nails.
I know.
Trying to be bright.
Yes, you are.
Trying to
Yes, bring
get
it
some
on.
energy. Yeah.
So, a little background for Central Penn College. 144 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
1881. 1881 they were
That's
founded.
crazy awesome. Right in our backyard in the capital city region. That's awesome.
And founded in downtown Harrisburg. So that's where they originally had and we were the Central Pennsylvania Business School.
I do know that.
So you probably have heard that.
One of my best friends graduated.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
from
sure.
there.
And people still think of us.
Yes.
Now we have a lot more degrees and programs, but started as a business school and have evolved ever since. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Evolved is a great word, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
important. And you have to stay relevant.
So this is year 7 for you?
7 officially as president.
As president.
I was interim 1 year before that,
Okay.
but I was hired as a vice president. So I've been at Central Penn coming on 9 years, which is wild.
Great.
I love
Great.
that.
So
I love
legacy, yeah, Annie and I are ship grads. So we know that
local.
all you presidents kind of stick together and
do.
have your own little group. So Dr. Patterson up there is
He's
a rock
wonderful.
star. Yeah, he is.
This community of presidents, it's not always like that. That's not how it is everywhere.
Really?
So to have so many different presidents at different institutions, and I go out to lunch and breakfast with them regularly.
Oh, great.
And you have to do that. And we commiserate a little bit on our pain points. We talk about things that are going well. You need to have people in those similar roles that you can meet with. So
That's awesome.
Business vitamin, right from
Yes.
the jump.
Yes.
Big time.
Business
Yes.
vitamin.
Good call out. Good call
Make
out.
the time to do that.
Yeah.
Commit to
oh,
that.
really important, actually.
Yes.
Even at your level. So, I mean, that's great to know, too.
Big
Even
time.
at the executive level, I'm sure there's not many peer groups you can go into
not.
and get honest feedback and say, hey, what's working for you, what's not. So
You know, when you're part
that's
of a state
encouraging.
system,
Yes.
they have groups. If
Yes.
you're part of a community college system, they have groups. When you're an independent college like us, it's very hard to find people that you can have those conversations with. So you have to find a way to make them. And that's something that as soon as I got the position, I reached out to every president in this area and said, I want to pick your brain about what's
that's
working. Even how
awesome.
you structure your team.
We talk about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you made the ask, which is
Yeah.
another business vitamin.
And that's lifelong
Don't
learning
wait.
at
Yes.
any level
Yes.
in real time, which is crucial.
Definitely.
So give us a little backstory. Like, did you just wake up at age 10 and say, I'm going to be a college president?
Not at all. Not at all.
How does one become a college
Well,
president?
My story is a little not totally unconventional,
Yeah.
but I knew at an early age I wanted to actually be in television, radio, entertainment.
Isn't she gorgeous,
sports
though?
broadcaster.
Oh,
you look like you're
aces.
Listen,
Yes.
35
yes.
years old.
You two are so sweet.
No,
and I needed that today
look.
because I am not feeling it.
Well, she
I'm not
walked in
feeling
and I
it.
was like, you're as young as I thought you were.
I
Like,
know.
Not at
wow.
all. Not at all. But I always liked, it would scare me to get in front of people and talk. But my teachers were always saying, you should be on you should be on news. You should be in the news media. And so I started going to school for that. Started at a community college, didn't have a whole lot of money. My family are immigrants to this country
A great
from Italy.
first step.
Great first step.
Yes.
And opportunities there. So I loved it, went to a community college, started working at a local cable station, was a news reporter at, 18, 19 years old. I'm on the news and started as an intern. This is one of your vitamins that you can pass on.
Yeah.
I was shadowing reporters, and then at the end I'd say, do you mind if I try a stand-up on the microphone? And they said, no, go ahead, kid, do it.
Oh, that's so great.
Then I'd edit their stories, and that was when you had to splice tape together.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, do you mind if I do one where I'm holding the mic? No, go ahead, kid. And so I did that often enough that the news director was like, we're going to use your story as a kicker today. We're going to put you on
Jasmine
the
Brooks part 2.
Yes.
She manifested
Jasmine
it
Brooks
into
was 21.
existence.
She just lit up the
Same
studio.
thing.
Yeah,
She just did it.
You got to put yourself
She
out
made
there.
it impossible to say no
That's
to her.
right. I love that.
But
Yes.
I love grabbing them. So first of all, I think there's a challenge. Younger people don't know they can ask to do that.
Oh, for sure.
And so you just said, this is your big idea, and you brought it, while I'm here.
Right. I want to make my own reel for my next college application.
Yes.
Do you mind? And they didn't mind. And so then I went to Marist
Brilliant.
College, did the same thing. I would still work at the cable station while I was going to school, and then graduated and really wanted to go into television. But I was contacted a week after graduation from a radio station who was looking for someone to fill in because someone had gone on maternity leave for a top 40 morning show. DJ,
This is your
executive
world.
producer.
Your world.
100%.
This is your world.
I had a show at Shippensburg.
Okay, so you're very familiar.
Oh, for sure.
So I started as the news reporter, and then really loved being on the air, and started doing that every day. And I was doing it every day. I was on the air from 5:30 to 10, and I'd get up at 2:45 because I had to be at the station by 4 to write the news stories and get everything set. And I wasn't making a whole lot of money. So I graduated top of my class, and I was making about $22,000 a year.
Wow.
And the only way you made money
Top of
was
your
to
class.
do...
Kudos to you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. You had to do appearances. So spinning the wheel of prizes. I was DJing nightclubs Friday nights and Saturday nights. So my schedule was thrown off.
So crazy work ethic, first of all.
Crazy
have a work ethic.
Doing it from 21 to 25, easy. By 25, I thought, what am I doing? This is not sustainable. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Got a phone call from someone who was my professor at the same community college that I went to. And he was getting promoted, asked me if I wanted to teach full-time faculty, tenure, start a new media program. So I went there, had a tenure track position, wrote a new media program, got a grant for a TV studio, and then slowly worked my way up administratively. So to answer your question about the college president, during that time, I met my husband. We had our first son. Then we had our second son. I was going to college that whole time, which was the hardest years of my life.
Yeah.
I was working full time. My husband was a union iron worker. He was laid off 6 months a year.
Oh,
and
gosh.
so I'm supporting our family.
Yes. Yeah.
And thought the only way I'm going to get out of this is if I further my education and take care of my family. And then I said, how do women do this? How do women do this?
Yeah.
So my dissertation was Mothers as Leaders. And it was the
that's
pathway
awesome.
to a college presidency. So I traveled around the country and interviewed college presidents who were moms. And there weren't many.
Well, I
of
was
us.
just going to say, how many
Not a
are
lot.
there? Were there?
At that time, only 60% of presidents were women, and only 24% were actually moms. So
That even sounds high to me.
Difficult.
60% were women?
I think it,
Or is this
60% were men? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
40% were women.
wow, okay.
40% were women, and
And then-
of that 40, only I think 20 something percent had children.
Right.
So because these jobs are almost impossible. So the more that I did that and met these women and realized, okay, it's possible. A lot of them don't do it with young kids. Most women wait until their husbands actually retire.
Yeah.
And then go for college presidencies.
Right.
Or at the very least, the children are grown and out of the house, maybe in college, maybe beyond that. Then they pursue that next level. So I didn't even know if I was going to be a president at that point. I wanted to be a vice president. That's when I moved to Central Pennsylvania. Got the VP position at Central Penn.
Oh, good.
Unexpected events, I got put into an interim position as president,
Yeah.
and then I went for it.
At every step, you maximize the opportunity.
That's
I love
right.
it.
You and
a
saw
great way to put
steps
it.
ahead.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, Linda, people don't process where they are enough
It's true.
to be where they are to excel
Yeah.
while they're sort of looking out a few steps. Anne says it as be where your feet are.
That's great. That's a great way
But
to say it.
sometimes you have to learn where you are
Yeah.
to understand the direction.
But
with which
making
you
the
wanna go.
ask is so important. Like
It is.
none of us in this room waited for someone to knock on our door and
very
say,
true.
"Hey, Ann, do you want me as a client?" That doesn't happen.
Yeah, at
do you want me to help you start your business? That doesn't happen.
No one's coming for you.
Yeah.
not.
So
They're
the
not.
fact that I think the most important business vitamin is that you're demonstrating to younger people, if you can think it, grab that microphone and do it.
100%.
Because that's how you built your network and showed people, like, well, she's capable, of a whole lot more than this current position.
Right.
You're actually working to the position you want, not the position you have.
Oh, it's such a good way to put it. Yeah, and you have to keep doing that. So a lot
Right.
of people,
That's right.
they'll do the bare minimum. They'll do the job, but you have to do so much. And when they're looking for volunteers, you raise your hand.
Yep.
Do you need someone to be
We've
there?
talked
I'll
about
be
that.
there.
Yep.
Do you need someone to step in? I'll step in. And I never thought of it any other way. And people said, how did you do it? I didn't even give it a second thought. I would just do it. So if I saw an opportunity, and I didn't even realize I was ambitious. I just wanted to do a good job for the people that I worked for.
And I say we're in the yes business.
Yeah.
There's a myriad of ways to say no but, which sounds a lot like yes. And the more we normalize no, the less power it has.
Right.
There's
Good
a lot
point.
of power
Good point.
in words.
Yeah.
There's power
Yep.
in failure versus just
right.
another attempt. There's
Right.
power in no because it stops people. And how many people outwardly just go no? Not many, because
yeah.
people aren't comfortable with
That's
it. It's
right.
not a normalized word. And so I think that might be one of those temporary setbacks, Linda, but it's still the course you're making for yourself. It's
absolutely
over,
true.
under, around, through, and not no, right? But
I
but
love-
ask.
I love just the fact that you charted your own course and it was the only course you knew. So
Right.
you were high gear from the jump.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Amen.
Pretty much.
So now take us through COVID, which I know.
Oh, boy.
So
That's everyone's reaction, by the
because
way.
it's
so painful.
But you
It's
were
painful
trying
even
to,
think about it.
And fresh.
survive,
Yeah.
and you've got these students who are living on campus, most of them, or most of them commuting. What's the percentage?
So the percentage, our on-campus student population is only about 10%.
Okay.
But those are our traditional, there are athletes,
Yeah.
there are residential students that are the ones you're thinking of that are coming out of high school.
Right.
And a lot of them like staying with us because they get their own rooms, right? A lot of our students are coming, their average family income's about $50,000 a year. That's their family, right? So some of them have never had a room of their own. So now they have a room of their own. They have access to Wi-Fi. They have access to food. We
So
have
they
a food
first
pantry.
generation generally?
A lot of them.
Okay.
A lot of our
Okay.
students are first generation. And so when COVID hit, initially we were right at the start of a term. We have 4 terms a year.
Okay.
So we go all year round.
Yeah.
So they weren't back on campus yet. We were back on campus by June of 2020.
Wow.
June of
Wow.
2020. Where a lot of colleges were remote for years after that. Some are still not even fully
I was
back.
just going to say that. Some are still not
So
fully
from
back.
March to June, you figured it out.
Pretty-
If March
yeah,
was
we
the
had to.
lockdown.
We
yeah.
had to. And we have a lot of health sciences.
Yeah.
And so you have students that are learning to take blood. We're
Exactly.
training phlebotomists. You can only do that on an orange for
Right.
so long, which
Right.
is what they were
Right.
doing
Right.
through their videos. So we needed
Good
to be
for
back.
you.
We actually petitioned the governor because there were only certain programs
Good
in
for
certain
you.
schools. And so we were able to get back on campus. Now we still had a lot of online and
Yeah.
hybrid
Yeah.
options. So many students could do that. But the amount of money that it cost, we are a 100% ESOP, which is a really
Okay.
unusual tax
Yeah,
structure
it
for
is.
a college.
Yeah.
Prohibited us from getting any higher ed relief funds. So schools received millions
Yeah.
of dollars, and there were 5 rounds of higher ed relief funds. Central Penn didn't get any. So we had to get innovative very quickly.
Talk about bootstrapping.
But kind of
man.
that's like a.
we were forced to get innovative quickly.
Absolutely.
right,
To survive.
To survive. So we were actually ahead of a lot of the schools that are really hitting it now. Their stimulus money is gone or it's running out. We had to find out ways to diversify revenue right from the jump of COVID. So it was interesting.
Was your board, roll up your sleeves helpful? And
Board is really helpful.
Good.
I am fortunate
Good.
because that can go either way.
Yeah.
And because I've been there for 9 years, I've had
Good
a
relationship.
good relationship with many of them. I know many of them.
Yeah.
So they were great. They were helpful. They were there.
good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But there again, too, Linda, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So
Right.
the entirety of how you got there was almost at that point mental memory.
Yes.
To say, oh, well, I'm just going to continue forward
Yeah.
to whatever I can do to put one step in front of the other.
Right.
And I think that your entire background to that point made that at least probable.
Yeah. Well,
What's
thank
the
you.
breakdown in men and women?
We have 68% are women at our school.
Really?
Yeah.
So are they heavy on the health sciences and things, or
So it's a good
Business?
mix. So business is still our number one program, probably
Okay,
because we were
good.
founded that way. But we've seen a decrease in the number of students enrolling in business. More students are enrolling in health professions. And a lot of it is you can get an associate's degree and be making quite a bit of money, maybe even more than you'd get with a bachelor's degree if you're in one of these allied health
Great,
professions.
yeah.
So we have seen a rise in our surgical tech program,
Oh,
our
cool.
medical assistant,
Yeah.
medical billing and coding. Those are the ones where students are very interested.
Good.
So we have a large breakdown. A lot of our students have kids too. So when I was looking at schools,
Yeah.
that 68% of women, over 60% of them have kids.
that's a great stat there. Good for them
Yeah.
for trying to juggle it all. And I'm
And
sure
they're
when they
working
know
already.
you and your story, they feel like they
Yeah, and I
found a
don't feel
home.
like robots
Yeah.
are going to replace that, or AI is
No.
going to replace
Not
that.
at
And
all.
I will tell you, a good phlebotomist is worth gold.
Oh, no
I
kidding,
mean, I'm
right?
telling you, the distance between not so good and really good.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
It really is.
Incredible.
really
And that is always going to be an in-demand
Right.
human job.
That's a good point. It's a really good point.
Talk a little bit about the. I know you guys are intentional about helping solve our workforce needs.
Yeah, very much.
So, do you do the upskilling? How do you create your programs dependent on what Central Pennsylvania needs?
We do that quite a bit because our school's very regional in the students that we
Mm-hmm.
serve. So 93% live within 100 miles of Central Penn.
Oh, wow.
Even our fully
Okay.
online students,
Yeah.
they're pretty local. So for us, it's looking at what this region needs
Mm-hmm.
specifically. We even made a decision to pause some programs last
Yeah.
year, programs that
Based on
weren't
demand?
enrolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could bring them back, but
Yeah.
the demand in this area, it's very healthcare specific. There's a lot of need for accountants, which I wish younger people would go into that. They're just not as interested.
Well,
But
every business, AI is not going to replace that. You still need someone
you
to
need
do the numbers.
A good CFO.
Yes, you
And
do.
that demand is incredible, and most CFOs are retiring in the
Yeah,
next
they
5
are.
years.
Good point.
So trying to get more students into our accounting degrees, and so looking at what does this area specifically need, we can respond to that. The other thing we have a
great.
Center for Workforce Excellence. So when you're looking at needs in the area, we meet with businesses, we find out what do they need,
Mm-hmm.
and then we create curriculum for them.
Well, that's cool.
It's very cool. It can be customized. This won't be a surprise to either of you. What a lot of businesses ask us for are communication skills, leadership development, customer service skills, so that we take some of our courses and then we
Yeah.
add some of their
good.
customized curriculum in.
Ha-ha.
Yeah.
EQ.
Oh, yeah.
People
Oh, yeah.
communicating with people directly. And I don't think we've made it the whole way back that way from COVID, especially with our kids who are
Yeah.
digital natives,
It's tough.
who were going that way anyway. And that is a big concern of mine, the disconnect between how much another generation, Linda, thinks
Oh,
that's essential. I think it's critical essential.
It is critical, and there's a big difference when someone has those skills and when they don't. And people like us that love to talk to people, that genuinely want to get to know people,
Right.
it feels easy.
Yeah.
It's brutal for some
Right.
people.
Feels effortless.
It feels effortless because we are genuinely
Right.
interested in what people want to say, and having a conversation is fun. For a lot of these people, that is a skill, and that's the good news. It's a skill that can be developed. So you have to get these young people in front of other people. That's why you can't
Right.
always replace all of the courses. You can't
Oh,
always
no.
replace
No.
physical interaction with people.
I think it's brilliant. You started in communications because clearly you mastered, you're comfortable in front of a camera, you're comfortable presenting, and you're comfortable sharing, what your insights and leadership direction are. mastering that, you could really go into any career you wanted. If you know language, if you can master writing and speaking, there's your EQ part of whatever job, whether it's a tech, whether it's cybersecurity.
You're right.
You still have to share that knowledge, and you have a team that you have to direct or collaborate with, and those communication skills are just so critical.
I think more than anything else.
Yeah.
And my students will ask me that all the time. I love to meet, especially with freshmen, and talk to them about their first year. When they hear my background, they realize how similar we are.
Yeah.
And they say, what's the course that helped you the most? And I tell them, it's my communication background that makes me be able to even do this position. Because you could have a brilliant person in a presidency position, but if they can't talk to you or make you feel important or make you feel valued or heard, they're not going to go very far.
Yeah.
They're not. So you have to have the ability to interact and talk to people. I think probably more than anything. And then I will tell my kids all the time, the algebra class is important if you want to get to these roles. They're always saying, what do you need this for?
Yeah.
You actually need to understand math and finances.
Right.
You really do.
And 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2. But Linda, you have to understand how to communicate and connect with a board member.
Oh, yeah.
And a freshman.
That's a good point.
And someone you pass walking down a hallway.
Right,
Somebody who maybe is complaining about something. What walk of life did they come from?
That's right.
I mean, to meet who you have to communicate with, where they are on their journey, you don't have a lot of time to do
very
that.
true.
It has to be innate. It has to be emotional in terms of where to make that connection. And that is the versatility. I mean, our people say, well, they don't want a client face. Yes, but they have to human face.
Yeah.
Because it says to me, if they don't want to talk to clients, that's one thing, right? There's an expectation there, but are they connecting and collaborating with coworkers, with other departments? Are they cross-training? What does all of that look like? And it's much more difficult now because we're not in the office.
That's very true.
And so I think that's even more nimble and flexible for people to understand. There's not just a person you're going to have to connect and communicate with. You just don't know who that would be in a profession.
Very true.
But that in-person relationship, especially, so say it's a board member, say it's a chamber president, because we've been at many conferences at Central Penn before. Say it's a client, when you have a personal relationship, the difficult conversations are so much easier because you're already connected. If it's only a digital presence, you're not quite sure how they're going to take the news or the announcement you're going to share, or how you're going to
tone. I thought
exactly.
you were mad. I
thought
you were short and abrupt and oh man.
See,
so much of
that's a disconnect where they can't get out of that scenario in a win-win. It's much more difficult if you don't have those skills, and not even that they're in the office every single day, but if they have an in-person relationship with the client, who's your client might be on the West Coast,
But sight, sound, motion, emotion is how we communicate as humans. When you take all but one of those away into a technical aspect, all the rest is gone.
Right.
Right. Tell us, so for young women who aspire to an executive position, do you have any tips for them? Or do or don't do any of those?
Do or don't do. Well, do put yourself out there. So one of the things I learned in my research is women stop themselves.
Good point.
And a lot of women will get to a certain point, and a lot of women stop at a vice president level or an associate vice president level. And when they're asked, why did you stop there? And it does come down to imposter syndrome, which I'm sure you've touched on in a lot of these
We
podcasts.
heard that this morning,
We heard it this morning.
Yeah.
Because we all understand it now and said, oh, aha, that's what that means.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. They're worried that they don't have all of the skills yet that they need, right? So we think there's a list of 10 qualifications that you need. You have 7 of them. You're going to apply when you get the other 3.
Yeah.
Men don't think that way. Men have 3
They have
and say,
one of the 10.
I'm going to figure out, and this is not a dig on men.
Yeah.
They're just way more confident.
Yeah.
And they'll say, I'll figure out the other 7. I have that capability. So believe that you can figure out how to do
That's
it.
great.
You don't have
Great.
to know everything to go for something new. You have to know who to ask, and you have to be comfortable enough when you don't understand something to ask people who can help you figure it out.
And they're judged differently. Men are judged entirely differently than women are. I mean, head to toe in so many
Very
different
true.
aspects. And we do not want to be that vulnerable. We take care of people. people don't generally take care of us.
That's true.
And there's a dynamic in that you're trying to sort of turn the tide on a prehistoric aspect built into us as
That
women.
is very true.
And so you have to look at the barriers of that. And my goodness, there are people that don't have any and think I'm going to do that and sort of fake it till you make it to the capacity that you can. But people come in to swoop in to help men, and women are normally they're the caregivers. They're the people swooping in. They're the people helping people. So I think in your mind that has to be something that you understand isn't going to be the same. And the criticisms are just harsher.
Criticisms are way harsher, and we're often our own worst enemy, and women are not always supportive of women. And I had a lot of really negative experiences putting myself back through school. From women that, my sons were babies, and they said, I've had a few, and these were college professors. These weren't uneducated women. These were women that said, it's really selfish that you're going back to school. When your kids are little, or you're going to be a department chair. Don't you want to spend the summer home with your kids? And I had to say, I'm doing this for my kids.
Right.
And I will tell you, it wasn't until I graduated with my doctorate, and my son Jake was then 7 and Luke was 5, and they were in the audience, and it's so hard to talk about.
What a day.
Jake had tears in his eyes when I came off the stage, and I said, buddy, why are you crying? And he said, Mama, I'm so proud of you.
Oh.
And I thought, I've been giving myself grief for these last
You've been listening to these other voices. Yeah.
Because I thought that I was not there enough. And all I did
And
was
he's
set an
looking up to
example of what you can do.
It's the guilt that we're all all
guilt.
born with.
Let go of it.
And the
You
bottom
have to.
line is whether you were it doesn't matter why you were doing it. You're doing it. And you need to get supported throughout that. But that is the entire mission and genesis of this podcast. Anna and I are having lunch one day, and I'm like, why don't women support women more?
awful.
And I mean, I think you can talk about it. You can do all these things. Like, let's try. Do you want to do this?
I love it.
And we didn't have any of the boxes checked, other than having a show at Shippensburg and being. I mean, I knew
you're
right?
both pretty good at
We
conversation.
had- we
You
had
that.
zero box
but
checked.
not the studio, not how to post a podcast, not how to produce it and edit it, not links. Like, we didn't know no boxes. And the bottom line is we both had one mission to help women and actually do something.
Shorten the learning curve.
Shorten the learning curve for women, no matter why, how, or what. And that is why you're sitting here. And that's been the most incredible inspiration to me. It's that, right? To soldier on, no matter why. But men just are not judged the same way.
They're not.
When I saw you at Girls on the Run this morning, which was like a who's who, I told Annie of the Grit and Gravitas guests there. So there's 250 women. And I was looking around, and Kelly Palmer, who we just released her episode, just a bright young, and this is 4 years and 90, I think Kelly's was 91 or 92 now. The amount of women that came up, the comments that you said, Annie, I just thought, dang, you're just never sure the impact or the difference that you make. Yeah. And our sole goal, like Annie said, is to, make someone's career moves easier or clearer.
I love it.
Or lift, everyone and anyone we can. We all have sons, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 combined here. Lifting them up, and so even they understand that the women that they're in their lives or they're working with, maybe a little bit better. But I just thought the generations, the ages, and the different careers these women had in that room today, including Jillian. Yeah. She was a guest, and she was, her whole takeaway was no doesn't mean no, it means not yet.
Well, and think about it. This is a side hustle for us. We both have huge jobs.
Right.
Tons of responsibility, like the engine from which a lot of our respective companies go. But and I said to someone I had coffee with this morning, when it's your word, it's your bond.
That's true.
And without our guests, guess what? We don't have a show.
That's true.
And it's your time, right? And the outpouring of that to then be in a room where you sort of can feel that impact.
Great.
That's the most gratifying thing. But it sounds like you, in addition to everything else, this is what you did to make this happen.
But I think the insight, and we've said before that this is an executive education course.
Right.
We've both taken exec ed at the highest level.
Yeah.
It's not inexpensive.
Right.
You sit in the room and you network with 25 people for however long. But this, for so many, especially women who can't do anything like that, maybe for many reasons they can't go back to Central Penn or to SHIP or to anywhere. You know, you spend 30 minutes and our return on time is you're going to hear from Linda Fedrizzi-Williams, like, darn, look what she can do. Cool. So maybe I can do it. Maybe my daughter now can do that. Right. Here's a podcast episode. Kelly Palmer just encouraging us to get involved in local government. Like, that's not top on our list, but it's so important.
It's a great tip.
And just hearing, oh, well, Kelly did that and she's got 2 little children. So maybe I could, sign up for planning commission.
You totally can.
But so I love that. Any other tips, Linda, on things that you've learned on your journey?
Yeah, I'd say ask for help. I think that when you're someone in these roles, you feel like you're not supposed to, or it's going to be a sign of weakness. And we often do this with our husbands.
Could we say it again for the people in the back?
Well, you have to ask for help because
I know.
We sometimes think our husbands should know that we need them to do something.
I'm
they don't
with
know.
You.
Oh, they're not mind readers.
They're not mind readers.
No.
And in fairness, they're not mind readers. No. And most of them, if you say, I need you to do this because I'm going to be late, or
they would drop everything and do it.
And you don't have to be a superhero all the time. Again, I used to beat myself up. It's back to the guilt. I need to make homemade cupcakes for my son's birthday party. You don't. You can stop at Giant. You can get the cupcakes. Your kid's still going to be excited. Yeah. Right. You don't have to pile on all these things that you think have to be perfect. You can ask for help. You can ask for help around the house. You can ask for help with cleaning.
That's so important.
Any of it. You have to be able to do that. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're a regular person. And that's for your teams too. It's okay to have your team members step up.
And I think they're... they benefit from seeing that side of us.
Definitely.
Of just saying, hey, time out, my schedule. I'm either going to collapse or I'm not going to do good, on this assignment. I need support.
But we have to use words. They have a lizard brain. We do not have a lizard brain. We multitask better. There's just an enormous amount of things that are not obvious to them, to men. The brains are just different. They completely operate differently, and we need to use words.
And don't be passive aggressive about it. Don't think if you ignore it or you leave the dishes in the sink long enough, they're going to see it. It doesn't help anyone. And if I ever fall into that pattern, even my son will be like, "Mom, you good? Like something's wrong." No, I need you to take the garbage out.
They're like homing pigeons that way, right? Like the glass isn't going to miraculously go 6 months from the sink to the dishwasher, which is but my arm length, but then go and get in there.
Could you just put your dishes in the dishwasher? That's going to help me out.
Like clear your own dinner. That's plates from now on. That's the least you can do there, pal. And
get that help.
Linda, what would you tell your younger self?
I would say to ease up a little bit, and sometimes it's okay to pause, because you heard about how ambitious I was. When I went through that doctoral program and my kids were babies, I have a picture. I had a C-section on a Friday. There's a picture of me in bed on a Saturday nursing my son and writing a paper.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't want to stop because graduation was in May and I had to finish, right? So that's great to push yourself, not at the expense of yourself. So you have
expense
to,
of your health too, probably.
And it really does. And it takes a toll on you, and you can't wait till you get to the point where you're so burnt out that you're addressing it.
Right.
Be aware of signs early. Take care of yourselves. These jobs can be very, very lonely. So when you're looking to get to these executive roles, it could be very isolating. Not everyone understands. Yeah. You can't go to your employees because they're not your friends.
Right.
They're your colleagues, and you love them and you care about them. But you can't confide some of the hardest things in them.
Agree.
So you need to find a support network that's not always your spouse, because your spouse doesn't always want to hear about how awful things are, how hard things are.
Because they want to fix it and you can't fix it. You just need to listen.
So you have to find that support network of people that you can lean on. It's really critical.
And a C-section, trust me, from someone who had one, that's major recovery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's major surgery.
I was a lunatic. I mean, I was walking at commencement shortly after that.
I don't
Not
know
to
how
be
you
a
walk,
hero.
like you feel like your whole insides are going to end up on the ground.
It was brutal. It was
brutal. I don't know how your brain even worked to be writing a paper. Seriously, that was the most discombobulated and weak I had ever been.
Yeah. And I didn't stop. So sometimes you look back at it and you think that wasn't really the smartest thing. But I was so desperate to change my lot in life and not have my family struggle.
Right.
That stopping was never an option.
Wow.
So yeah, talk about grit. A little bit of stupidity.
Yeah, no.
But,
oh my word.
Trust me,
Yeah.
today you have gravitas too, my friend. You have
Yes,
grace
yes.
I
in
appreciate
spades, and that is
appreciate
obvious, right, in your aura. So
the Central Penn students are lucky to have you.
Amen.
I love them.
I love
them.
in the corner office. So let's. You missed your line. You should have said and just. Like that.
You know it, girl. You know it. You know it.
Annie reins us in. Okay. Number one, two last questions here. Yeah. How can we find, you and Central Penn College, and why so any young listeners out there, why should they attend and apply to Central Penn?
Oh, I love both of these. So centralpenn.edu is the easiest way to find me. My email's there. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. It's Linda Fedrizzi-Williams. And to come to Central Penn and why to come there, we're going to help you get your degree. We're going to help you do it faster. If you're looking for an associate's, year and a half, bachelor's, 3 years. 99% of our students are working within a year of graduating.
Wow.
And 89% of them are in the field they came to us. So we're going to help you find a job and we'll make that commitment to you.
So you're shortening their learning curves and you're going to get them in a
debt.
career.
Make it more
Incredible
affordable.
value.
Cheers
And
to
I've
less
always
debt
said that.
and,
Exactly.
more career and on a faster path.
That's right.
So Linda, you are a delight.
Thank you. Were wonderful. That went so fast.
Absolutely. It really does.
Thank you for having me.
You're gracing our listeners. The kind of information you shared is such good. I mean, and I'm soaking it all in, and
thank you.
I'm not going back to school. But there's
We're at school every day,
yes,
DG.
That's true.
Every day is school.
Thanks for opening up and sharing, and it's really going to make a difference in
hope so.
a young person's life. So have a high gear day, Linda.
Thank
Kudos
you.
to everything you're doing at Central Penn, and we're
Thank you
thrilled to
both.
have you in our region. Annie, just like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.